If you know anything about the first generation of Pokemon, you know that Ghosts got no love whatsoever. It wasn't actually until Generation 3 that more Ghosts appeared in these games. So what can I do to show these friendly apparitions some love? Well, I thought the best way to do that was to drag them through the Hoenn region, slap a set of Hardcore Nuzlocke rules on there, and just see how far I can actually get. And no, I'm not talking about Emerald, okay? Get that crap out of here. I'm talking about the Generation 5 remakes, Omega Ruby, and Alpha Sapphire. This actually introduces quite a few more Ghost encounters compared to its Generation 3 counterparts, so it should make this one a little bit easier, but we're going to see how it actually goes. If you want to know what I consider Hardcore Nuzlocke rules, you can find them on the screen and in the description below. But before we get going, please remember to smash that like button, leave a comment below, and remember to subscribe, because if you don't, then you're going to end up like the 90% of other people who are also not subscribed and they also hate Ghosts, okay? Don't be like those other 90%. If you didn't know, this video is going to be going up around the time where I have about 1,000 subscribers to the channel, which means I'm going to be answering some questions that you guys asked me along the way. And with all that out of the way, let's get to the actual video. Yet again, our choices of Ghost Pokemon are rather slim even here in the Hoenn region. Luckily in Alpha Sapphire, we have at least a few extra choices. Looking at this list of Pokemon, you might be thinking, hey Foss, how are you going to take on Roxanne when the first Ghost you can actually get is Shedinja, which will at minimum be level 20, which is above that level cap? Well, this is a great question. Of course, none of the starters that we can choose from are Ghost types, so they're not going to really matter here. If you didn't notice, the Ghosts have gifted me with a totally legit version of the game with a couple of small tweaks added. One of those tweaks is that Pokemon are more likely to be shiny, and the second of which is that the National Dex is unlocked at the start. I know the shinies are pretty cool, but you might be asking, how is this going to help me? Well, there's another reason why I chose Alpha Sapphire in this situation. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire had a little feature called DexNav added to the game. Using DexNav, you can find certain Pokemon that would otherwise not appear while running through the tall grass. Thanks to the National Dex, this opens up a new encounter in the Petalburg Woods, so after 20 minutes of searching, I find my first friend of the playthrough, Phantump. According to old tales, these Pokemon are stumps possessed by the spirits of children who died while lost in the woods. Dude, who writes these things? After a bit of training, I call up my old friend Jim, who happens to work for Nintendo and also happens to have the same copy of the game as me. After a bit of begging and pleading, he finally agrees to trade me a shiny Phantump, oddly enough also named Bakemon, with my own. Doing so allows Phantump to evolve into Trevenant, which will be much more useful going forward. After reaching the level cap of 14, it's now time to take on Gym Leader Roxanne. At this level, Trevenant doesn't have any access to grass moves, so we're going to have to win this one with Brute Strength instead. After planting my roots, Geodude hits a Rock Tomb to deal only 7 damage, so I hit it with Confuse Ray before I start to set up growths. Luckily for me, Geodude ends up spending most of its time hitting itself in confusion, as I take the time to growth my way to +6 attack. Trevenant eventually lands the superpower Astonish to take out the floating Rockman with a single shot. Nose passes out next, and this thing's looks are about as good as its fighting capabilities, as it does nothing but use Harden until it eventually goes down to a couple of Astonishes from Trevenant to earn us the first badge of our journey. North of Rustboro is the location of our next encounter. If I head into the grass on Route 110, I can find myself a Nincada which I catch and name Dokugumon. Yes, I know Nincada is not a Ghost type, but it will be necessary for the next addition to the team. I then head into the Rock Tunnel to have my first big encounter with this Team Aqua member that has kidnapped a poor little seagull. After destroying his dog and rescuing the Wingull, I return it to its owner, Mr. Briny, who offers to bring me to the next location of my journey. Dewford is the location of the next gym of this challenge, which consists of fighting type Pokemon. Thanks to being the Ghost typing, this should be rather easy since the only moves that they can hit us with are going to be non-stab moves. And wait, what is that? Oh, you son of a bitch. The gym leader for this one is Brawly, and he leads off with Machop. Looking at Machop's moveset, it doesn't have a single move to hit us, so Brawly switches into Makuhita instead. It lands the only possible damaging move for this whole battle in the form of Knockoff, for some decent damage. With that out of the way, it now only has the option to sand attack us, so after a few more turns, Trevenant is able to take down both Makuhita and Machop without any issue to earn us the Knuckle Badge. Before leaving Dewford, I make a pit stop by the Granite Cave where I encounter this mysterious man named Steven. Apparently there is no such thing as the Postal Service in this game, as I was tasked with delivering a letter to Steven in this cave. As we make our way towards Slateport, let's take some time to answer the first few questions. What are my favorite non-Pokemon interests and passions? Well, growing up in the Midwest United States, I did a lot of outdoor activities such as snowmobiling, ATVing, hiking, fishing, hunting, all that good stuff. I still love to do that stuff today. In addition to that, I do love to play sports, so I'm big into baseball, playing, not as much watching anymore. Love watching football, and I still do play hockey from time to time, which really kind of delays all this stuff. Oh, and who can forget golf? I love golfing. Who are your favorite YouTubers? This one's a tough one to answer, honestly, because It changes like weekly sometimes. Gray Still Plays really got me into the video aspect of things, but of course when it comes to Pokemon content, Madrybread, Leonhart, and Johnstone have been my go-tos since the very beginning, and I started watching these videos probably 2 or 3 years ago right before the pandemic started. I finally arrive in Slateport City where I battle trainers inside the beach cafe until Dokugumon reaches level 20. That is such a hard name to say, I don't know why I named it that. Thanks to having open space in my party and an extra Pokeball in my possession, I'm able to add the real Ghost type to my team in the form of Shedinja. Sadly, or not so sadly, our friend here does not get to keep its name of Dokugumon, so it's going to be known as Shedinja throughout the remainder of this run. It has a calm nature, so increased special defense and decreased attack. With only 1 HP and the Wonder Guard ability, this may be the worst possible nature for our friend here. It also only has Scratch, Harden, Leech Life, and Fury Swipes. This one's going to require a lot of strategy to actually be useful going forward. After kicking Ninjask to the curb, I head into the museum to speak with Captain Stern, and it's at this point where I realize a big problem with this challenge. Team Aqua. Not just Archie, all of Team Aqua. Many members of Team Aqua have this Pokemon right here. Carvanha not only has the rough skin ability, but also has access to Assurance and later on Bite, both of which are super effective against Ghost types. Trevenant at least outspeeds, but Astonish only does half damage as Carvanha gets off an Assurance of its own to bring us down to yellow health. This activates the held Oran Berry, but I need to take the fish out with a single shot here to avoid being dropped by another Assurance. Faint Attack manages to take the fish out, and thankfully this grunt only has a single Carvanha on his team. Otherwise this run would have been over before it even started. With that being said, we are immediately forced into yet another battle with the second grunt, who of course has 2 Pokemon on his team this time around. Zubat goes down to a single Faint Attack, but as Carvanha comes out, I figured this run was over. Not knowing what else to do, I go for Astonish hoping for the flinch, and I get just that. Without this flinch, Trevenant would have been toast, but with one more Astonish, Carvanha goes down instead. Who would have thought that a couple of Team Aqua grunts would cause me so much stress this early in the run? Following their defeat, we are introduced to this fine specimen of a man named Archie. But he likely won't be playing any major role in this game, so let's just move on. You there! Watch me with a baffled expression on your face. Hi! No thank you, lady. I'm not getting roped into yet another silly competition. I have my own to deal with. North of Slateport is the next main encounter, and this will be the first time that we're actually facing her with Ghost types on our team. She leads off with the biggest threat to the team, Slugma, who can easily take out Shedinja with a single fire move, so I have no choice but to go with Trevenant instead. I use Ingrain on the first turn in order to stall out as long as possible. Ember does a decent amount of damage to our Ghost Tree, who then retaliates with a crit hit Faint Attack to bring Slugma down to red health. The Lava Slug then goes for Rock Throw for some reason, but another Faint Attack takes it down, bringing out Grovyle instead. Faint Attack again does okay damage, but Grovyle has Pursuit, which is dealing some huge damage in return. Another Faint Attack brings it down to red health, and May instead chooses to use Mega Drain. Okay, so another Faint Attack takes it out. Wailmer is now all that remains, and since it too has access to Astonish, I hope the Trevenant can outspeed and get a few flinches with an Astonish of its own. Thanks to a couple of lucky flinches here, Wailmer is only able to get off a single attack before finally going down. This battle really wasn't that bad, but with every one of May's Pokemon having a move that's super effective against Shedinja, our little Ghost Bug here is going to be useless in any May battles going forward. Our journey then leads us to Malville City, which is the location of the next important item. Inside the bike shop, I can grab myself the Mach Bike, which will be necessary for a couple important items going forward. Before I can get to those, I need to spend a little time catching up with our old friend Wally here. He has done literally next to nothing to improve his team since the last time we saw him, so again, he's not going to be any threat here. Wow, you really are strong, Doc. Why, thank you. With the Mach Bike somehow shoved in my tiny backpack, I head back to Granite Cave where I can add a Sableye to the team named Vmon. It has an impish nature, so plus defense and minus special attack, which I definitely won't be complaining about. With my team looking as good as it does, I head back to Malville to take on leader Watson and his team of electric Pokemon. Knowing that he would lead with Magnemite, which has no moves that will hit Shedinja, I decided to lead off with that. This forces Watson to switch into Voltorb, so I switch into Bakemon. Voltorb locks itself into Rollout, so I go for Ingrain to allow myself to recover some HP while I begin to stack growths. After 4 straight hits with Rollout, and only mediocre damage to show for it, Voltorb finally misses and I decide to take it out with Faint Attack. Magneton then comes out, and I go for Faint Attack to bring it down to only half health before it confuses Trevenant with Supersonic. Not wanting to hit myself with a growth boosted attack and knowing that Magneton would not be able to hit it, I switch into Shedinja instead. I then switch back into Trevenant and start chipping away at the floating magnets with Faint Attacks as they proceed to miss 2 Supersonics in the process. Watson does use a Super Potion at one point, but that just delays Magneton's demise. It does land a crit hit Magnet Bomb for some major damage before it goes down, but Magnemite is now all that's left. A couple more Faint Attacks from Trevenant deactivates this Magnet as well to earn us the victory over leader Watson. Before going much further, I'm going to have to update these movesets a little bit. Inside the Pokemon in Malville City, I grabbed myself the TM for Low Sweep before realizing that I forgot one of the most important TMs in the game. I make my way back to the depths of Granite Cave where I grabbed the TM for Shadow Claw. On Route 114, I can head into the Fossil Maniac's house and speak to his brother who gives us the TM for Dig. So with these 3 TMs in hand, it's time to move on. Next up on our things to do is to head into Meteor Falls where I come across Team Aqua yet again. Thanks to having Veemon with Low Sweep on the team, our fights against the Dark-type Pokemon should be a bit easier. Couple that with the fact that Team Aqua just focused all their attacks on Maze Pokemon, and this battle really wasn't much of a challenge. Well, for me anyways. Hearing about the endeavors happening on top of Mount Chimney, we head out and make our way there instead. At the summit, we have our first real encounter with leader Archie. He leads off with Mightyena, and since he has mostly dark types on his team, I send out Veemon to take him on. Mightyena also has Swagger in its moveset, so I gave Veemon a Person Berry prior to this battle, which came in clutch on turn 1. Veemon therefore gets the attack boost without any of the negative effects from Swagger, so Low Sweep is able to deal some major damage and drops Mightyena's speed as well. This speed drop allows Sableye to outspeed on the next turn to take out the Dark Doggo with another Low Sweep. Sharpedo is out next, but just misses a Screech before Low Sweep takes it out, but its Rough Skin ability does deal some damage in return. Golbat is now all remains and lands a crit hit with Wing Attack on turn 1 to bring Sableye down to yellow health. Shadow Claw in return just doesn't quite do enough, but Sableye is able to handle an Air Cutter without much issue, so one more Shadow Claw takes out the bat. Having Sableye on the team is really going to be a lifesaver going forward. If it happens to faint somewhere along the way, I might have no other choice but to reset. This is definitely going to be necessary for taking on Sydney in the Elite Four as well. Before I get too far ahead of myself, I have more gyms to take on. So I head to Lava Ridge Town where Flannery and her team of Fire-type Pokemon are just waiting to be a pain in my with 2 out of my 3 members of the team being weak to fire. I have no choice but to lead off with Sableye yet again. Slugma is out first, and I immediately go for the priority Fake Out, which lands, but Slugma's Flame Body activates, so the timer has begun. Thanks to the flinch from Fake Out, Sableye is able to get off his Shadow Claw, but it leaves the Flame Slug at just a sliver of health. Slugma is then healed to full health, but a couple of Shadow Claws eventually takes it out. Veemon has been taking quite a bit of damage from burn throughout this fight, so as Torkoal comes out, it only has just over half health remaining. Shadow Claw does next to nothing to Torkoal, and as Flannery sets up a Sunny Day, I really begin to panic. Knowing the Sableye would not be able to handle a Sunny Day boosted Overheat, I instead switch into Shedinja to take the sack and allow us a clean switch into Trevenant. This is tough to say the least, but this is honestly the most useful that Shedinja has been throughout this entire run. Trevenant comes out, and knowing that it will likely survive a hit from Overheat now that Torkoal's special attack has dropped, I start to set up with Growth. Torkoal spends the next 2 turns setting up with Curse, which really doesn't make sense here considering the Trevenant is weak to fire, and Torkoal can't even hit it with a physical move. I won't argue though, as this allows me to get off a couple more growths before Torkoal lands another Overheat to bring Trevenant down to yellow health. As Sunny Day wears off, I go for Dig, hoping it would be enough, but it isn't, as Torkoal is left with only a sliver of health remaining. Flannery goes for another Sunny Day, so one more Shadow Claw takes out the Torkoal. Numel is now all that remains, and hoping that a stab boosted Shadow Claw is going to be enough, I go for that over Dig and just pray for the best. Trevenant outspeeds and lands a Shadow Claw to take out Numel with just a single shot to earn us the 4th badge of our journey. This battle was nearly the end of the run yet again, but we came out of it with only 1 lost soul along the way. Sadly, Shedinja didn't see much use up until this point, but its sacrifice means the rest of the team can persevere. Outside of Lava Ridge Gym, I meet up with May, who leads me back to Petalburg, which is the location of our next gym of the challenge. The Petalburg Gym puts us in a 1v1 battle against our own father, and it's starting to appear like I planned this entire challenge just for this situation. Since normal and fighting type moves are unable to hit ghosts, this shouldn't be too bad considering that the only move that can hit us is Feint Attack. Unluckily for me, this is super effective against Trevenant, but at least it's only neutral against Sableye, so I lead with that instead. Our father leads off with Slacking, and the idea around this entire battle is to work around the Truant ability. So I use Fake Out on turn 1 to get the flinch despite dealing next to no damage. This allows me to get off a couple of low sweeps before Slacking even gets off a single move, and it just goes for Yawn. Hoping one more low sweep would be enough, I go for it, but Slacking survives with a sliver of health remaining. Norman heals it back to full health as Sableye falls asleep. It wakes up almost immediately though, and is locked into using low sweep thanks to an encore from Slacking. There are definitely worse moves to be stuck using in this situation. Slacking then goes for another Yawn, and not wanting Sableye to have bad sleeping luck, I instead switch into Trevenant to take it out with a Feint Attack. Out comes Vigoroth, so I immediately switch back into Sableye to tank that Feint Attack. Vigoroth instead goes for Encore though, so I get a free switch into Sableye anyway. Low Sweep has no issue finishing off Vigoroth, who only deals minimal damage along the way. Thanks to the experience from this battle, Sableye levels up to 31, where it can learn Confuse Ray, which might actually come in handy against our next opponent. Slacking is now all that remains, so I go for Confuse Ray, but it outspeeds and lands a feint attack before Confuse Ray actually lands. I then get off 2 straight low sweeps thanks to Slacking's Truant ability, which brings it down to just under half health before it breaks through the confusion to land another feint attack. Knowing there's a chance that Slacking survives with only a sliver of health again, this could be the end of Sableye if I'm not too careful. 2 low sweeps happens to be enough this time around, so Slacking goes down to earn us the respect we deserve from our father, who is in utter disbelief. I really thought that this would have gone much better with Ghost Tapes on my side, but at least we still only have 1 loss up until this point. The next leg of our journey leads us back to Steven, who brings us to a mysterious island on the back of Latios. It's here we can casually add Latias to the team, but we won't actually be using Latias in battle. It will be an important part of the challenge coming up, but I'll mention that when the time comes. We're then gifted with a Mega Bracelet, which thanks to the Ghost Tapes in this game, might actually come in handy this time around. After rescuing yet another cast form, who despite looking like a ghost, won't be of any use in this challenge, it is time to take on May yet again. Compared to last time when we faced off, this time went so much better. Slugma was an easy one-shot thanks to Shadow Claw, and as Grovyle comes out, I began stacking growths with Trevenant. Pursuit from Grovyle was dealing some solid damage, but thanks to a held Aghav Berry, Trevenant is able to regain some health before taking out Grovyle and the Wailmer that was out next with a single shot each. Further down the path, we receive the Devon Scope from Steven, which will be necessary to take on the next gym of this journey. Speaking of the 4 Tree City gym, Winona's team of flying Pokemon is going to be yet another tough one. I took the time to teach Sableye Rock Tomb prior to this battle, but despite being super effective, it's also very inaccurate, so I need luck to be on my side. Winona leads off with Swellow and I go for Rock Tomb, which happens to land 3 times in a row and forces Winona to use the only Hyper Potion that she has before it goes down. Thanks to the experience from this battle, Sableye levels up to 36, which means it's time to learn Power Gem. I'm choosing to keep Rock Tomb as I'll likely need it to drop some speed going forward, so I choose to instead get rid of Shadow Claw. Altaria is out next as I switch into Trevenant to get off a curse before switching back into Veemon. Altaria has other plans though as it lands a Dragon Breath which paralyzes Trevenant, who succumbs to paralysis as Altaria gets off a Cotton Guard to buff his defense. Curse then lands on the next turn and also activates Trevenant's held Citrus Berry to restore some health. Hoping for the best, I go for Secret Power before switching out, which actually paralyzes Altaria, which could be a huge game changer for this battle. With only 19 HP remaining, I have to switch back into Sableye. With only a small amount of health remaining, Altaria chooses to go for Roost. A few more turns of Power Gem and some curse damage finally brings down the Blue Bird. Skarmory is out next and goes for Sand Attack, but thanks to Sableye having the Keen Eye ability, this does absolutely nothing. Rock Tomb lands in the meantime to drop Skarmory's speed, but Steel Wing proceeds to deal some solid damage over the next couple of turns as Power Gem just wasn't quite doing enough. A Citrus Berry brings Veemon back to green HP, but that is short-lived as Skarmory brings us right back to where we started with yet another Steel Wing. One more feint attack takes it down, so now only Pelipper remains between us and the 6th badge of our journey. I again go for Rock Tomb, hoping for the speed drop, but I outspeed anyway to bring Pelipper down to just under half health. It then lands a Wire Pulse, which brings Sableye down to only 15 HP remaining. Thankfully, one more Power Gem is able to take Pelipper out, so with that, we get through yet another gym without any more losses to the team. It's been quite a while since we last added anything to the team, but on Route 121, we are finally able to add a new family member in the form of a Shuppet named Puppetmon. We also add a Duskull named Raremon to the team at Mount Pyre before grabbing the Bananite on the way up to the summit. It's here where we take on some Team Aqua executives and eventually earn ourselves the Red Orb before moving on. At Lily Cove City, we take on May yet again without any real issues, which means we're tracking down Team Aqua yet again. This leads me back to Slateport, where I can... This brings me back to the Team Aqua hideout, where Okay, come on. You know what? Screw this. I have better things to do. Moss Deep City is the location of our next gym challenge, which means it's time to take on Tate and Liza. On the way through the gym, Duskull earns enough XP to evolve into Dusclops before taking them on. This is a double battle against the rock psychic types, Solrock and Lunatone. This is oftentimes a very difficult battle to overcome, but thanks to my dark and ghost typing, it should be rather easy this time around. I figured that the Stab Grass Knot would be a solid choice for Trevenant, but I guessed wrong as it really didn't do much against the floating rocks. A last second Psychic from Lunatone almost dealt a devastating blow to Trevenant, but all in all, this battle was over before we even started. That's 7 gym badges down, only 1 more remaining. As I exit the gym, a bright green light erupts from the ocean, and of course this means that of all people, I have to be the one that goes to investigate. Deep in the heart of an undersea cavern, I come across something demonetizable before I have to take on Archie yet again. I spend a lot of time planning for this battle, and I'm still worried that this might be the one battle that ends the run. Luckily, his Mightyena doesn't have any attacking moves that can actually land, so this might be the time where I can actually set up for the remainder of the battle. This doesn't happen though because my Mightyena insists on spamming Taunt whenever possible, which means my Calm Minds fail consistently. By the time the Dark Doggo has gone down, I haven't gotten off even a single stat boosting move, which means that the rest of this battle might be a challenge. Dusclops eventually lands the final blow, and Archie sends out Muck. Dusclops has access to Earthquake, which should be all it's needed to take it out. Gunk Shot ends up dealing next to no damage before Dusclops is able to take it out, so Crobat is out next. A crit hit Acrobatics on turn 1 deals massive damage as it bypasses Dusclops' amazing defense stat. I go for Will-O-Wisp on the next turn to burn Crobat, hoping that a boosted Hex will be enough to take it out on the next turn, so long as Acrobatics doesn't crit hit yet again. It does not, but Hex ends up leaving Crobat with a sliver of health following the damage from burn. I switch into Sableye before Crobat goes down to some more burn damage, so Sharpedo is all that's left. This is the first instance of Mega Evolution though, and of course it has to be one of the toughest foes that we could face with this specific team. Crunch deals some massive damage to bring Veemon down to low health, but a Brick Break on the next turn brings Sharpedo down to red health as well. Hoping that my strategy works, I send out Banette instead. You might be asking why I'm choosing to sack Banette in this situation, but this is the plan that I came up with. Thanks to the held Colbur Berry, the damage from Crunch is actually halved, allowing Banette to survive the blow. Thanks to a priority Sucker Punch, Banette is able to outspeed and take the Mega Shark out to secure us the victory. This is by far the most difficult challenge I've had up until this point. If Banette would have gone down to a crit hit from Crunch, then the rest of the team would have just been fodder for the power of the Shark's Bite. Despite defeating Archie, he still has the audacity to awaken the Sleeping Beast, which unleashes a torrential rainfall upon the earth. Thankfully though, Champion Steven is here to save the... Okay, bye then. Before heading to Satopolis City, let's answer another question. Who is your biggest inspiration? Honestly, again, there might be a few too many to count. I definitely am inspired by the accomplishments of one of the pharmacists I work with, and my parents as well. But if you're going to be looking at the YouTube side of things, my biggest inspiration is actually Madrybread. He's gone through so much over the last year, and specifically over the last couple months. Wish him nothing but the best, but his videos have inspired me to make the videos that I'm making here today. North of Moss Deep City, I make a pit stop by the Shoal Cave. If you enter the cave at low tide, then you can access the secret room which holds the next encounter for our adventure. A Snorunt that I capture and name Digitamamon. Why do I choose these names? From there, I make my way deep into the Cave of Origin until I come across the legendary beast itself. Origin form Kyogre is a mighty foe which could easily wipe my entire team if I'm not careful. I had to spend hours planning for this one as well, and yeah, I just caught it with a Master Ball. With Kyogre taken care of, the world can return to its usual activities. As a thanks for all that we've done, Steven gifts us with the Eon Flute, which means that we can now put that Latias from earlier to good use. I use it to fly to Sea Mauville, where I can add a Spiritomb named Blossomon to the team. If you head to Route 114 and use the Dex Nav feature, you can find Misdrevious roaming around. I capture one and name it Patamon before heading back into the sky to catch myself a Drifloon named Opossumon. As if that wasn't enough, I head back to Route 124 and use the Dex Nav feature yet again to add Jellymon the Frillish to the team. With all the new encounters taken care of, it was now time to take on the final gym of the region. Wallace's team consists of water and ice Pokemon, but I have a plan for this as well. He leads off with Love Disc, which thanks to its terrible special attack, gives me time to stack 6 Calm Minds with Trevenant to max out special attack and special defense. A +6 Phantom Force takes out Love Disc easily, so out comes Milotic instead. Anticipating an Ice Beam here, I gave Trevenant a Yamcha Berry prior to the battle, which halves the damage received from the super effective attack on turn 1. Phantom Force then deals only half its health and damage before Milotic lands another Ice Beam for some minimal damage. I go for Phantom Force yet again, but Milotic takes this opportunity to heal some health through the use of Recover. This is going to be hard to compete with since Phantom Force will give Milotic a free turn to recover health. So I instead go for Grass Knot, which deals a surprising amount of damage to take out the Sea Snake. I honestly was under the impression that Grass Knot was only affected by the weight of the opponent and not the actual special attack stat. Knowing that this move is in fact extremely boosted, I give it a shot on the remainder of Wallace's Pokemon and end up taking them all out with just a single shot each. That went much better than I had initially thought it was going to. So with that, we have all the badges of the Hoenn region and it's time to take on the Elite Four. On the other side of Victory Road, we meet up with Wally one last time. He has done a lot more training since the last time we met and actually managed to get himself a semi-full team of 5 Pokemon. I lead off with Spiritomb as he sends out Altaria. I immediately begin to stack Nasty Plots as Altaria just wastes its time. After getting my special attack to +6, Altaria stands no chance against the Dark Pulse and goes down easily. As do the Roselia and the Delcadia that come out next. Magneton manages to hold on thanks to his sturdy ability and also paralyzes Spiritomb with a discharge on the next turn. It then deals some damage with Flash Cannon before going down. Out comes Gallade, who Mega Evolves but just goes for Swords Dance on turn 1. So one more Dark Pulse from Spiritomb takes it out with a single shot. Wally may have had more Pokemon this time around, but the results are much the same. As I make my final steps towards the Elite Four, I have a few more questions to answer before the challenge is over. What do you do for a job outside of YouTube? First of all, it's funny that you think YouTube is a job for me, because it's kind of a hobby at this point, but I'm also a full-time home infusion pharmacist. If you don't know what that is, just do a quick look up. I'm not going to explain it here. How much do you make a year? Much more than I do on my YouTube videos. Any pets? I have an Australian Shepherd named Kona and 2 cats. One named Drecker, one named Surly, and if you watch any of my streams, you'll probably see them there. Favorite gaming console? Well, hot take here, but the Nintendo Switch. How can you not be excited about a great handheld item, which can also be turned into a family-wide gaming console, just through the use of an HDMI cable? It's a great system. Yes, it has its little like quirks and stuff like that, but all in all, probably one of my favorite consoles to play. And last but not least, what are your opinions on Scarlet and Violet? I'm trying to stay in the dark as much as possible in these games. I want to go into these games with a fresh mind and not knowing what I'm going to be getting into. But after how well Legends Arceus was received, I'm really excited to play this game. And you know dang well I'm going to be nuzlocking this almost immediately. After hours of strategizing and training, I completed some last minute evolutions and came up with a team that should give me the best chance of beating this thing. The team consists of Spiritomb, Banette, Frostlass, Trevenant, Sableye, and Jellicent. Let me know in the comments below if you think I can actually do this. I'm kind of nervous, but let's just give it a shot. First up is Sydney and his team of dark Pokemon. This one honestly has me the most worried since the majority of my team is weak to dark. He leads off with Mightyena, and from prior knowledge, I know that Mightyena is notorious for going for Swagger right away, so I've given Spiritomb a Lumberry to immediately cure it of confusion. What I was not expecting was another Swagger on the next turn, but the confusion only lasts for 1 turn before Spiritomb is able to power through the confusion to take out Mightyena with a +6 Ominous Wind, but not before taking some damage from Sucker Punch first. Shiftry is out next and is able to land Leaf Blade before going down to a single shot as well. Sharpedo is out next and 2 outspeeds, but Crunch lands a crit hit, so with that, Spiritomb has gone down only 3 Pokemon into the league. Luckily, Sableye is still available to me, so I send it out to go for Brick Break, which actually takes out Sharpedo with a single blow. The damage from Crunch plus Rough Skin leaves Sableye with about half health as Absol comes out, and it lands a crit hit Dark Slash, which leaves Sableye with only a single HP remaining. Brick Break takes it out as well, but as Cacturne comes out, I take the safe route by switching to Frostlass instead. Payback deals some solid damage, but Frostlass is eventually able to get off an Ice Beam to take out the Cactus and earn us the first victory of the Elite Four. I honestly thought that Sydney was going to be the most difficult battle here, but we only managed to lose Spiritomb along the way. Sure, that is a big loss, but it definitely could have been much worse. Phoebe is up next, and her team of Ghost Pokemon is no walk in the park either. She leads off with Dusclops, and I send out Banette and immediately start the step with Calm Mind. But as Phoebe chooses to go for Curse, I now have a timer that I'm working against, as Curse is now dropping 1/8 of my total HP every turn. Dark Pulse takes out the Dusclops, but as Sableye comes out, I choose to switch into a Sableye of my own. It is then a battle of foul plays, but thankfully my Sableye has the level advantage here, so it ends up on top. Banette comes out and I immediately go for foul play, which drops it with a single shot as well. The story is much the same for the Banette that's out next, so with that, Dusknoir is now all that remains. I put all my eggs in one basket by going for foul play, hoping for yet another one-hit KO, but it leaves Dusknoir with red health. It then retaliates, and that should be it for our friend Veemon. But no, it hangs on with only 9 HP to spare, and now the pressure's on Phoebe, who chooses to use a couple full restores to extend the fight, but in the end, Veemon comes out victorious, and we've gotten through yet another battle without any additional losses to the team. Third up is Ice Trainer Glacia, who leads with Glalie, who is able to tank a Power Gem pretty well, but is only able to get off minimal damage prior to going down to a Brick Break on the next turn. Then comes Frostlass, which lands a Confuse Ray, but this has no effect on Veemon, who powers through to take it out with a single foul play. The next Frostlass is able to land a Blizzard for some solid damage, but Veemon snaps out of Confusion without hitting itself even once, and takes out this Frostlass as well. Only Walrein and another Glalie remain, but with only low health, I choose to switch into Jellicent for the remainder of the battle. A couple of Rain Dance boosted Hydro Pumps, in addition to dodging Blizzards like they're the plague, leads to yet another victory without any further losses. Dragon Trainer Drake is up next, and I only have 2 words to say about this one. Ice Beam. Yep, a single Ice Beam was more than enough to take out Altaria, Flygon, Salamence, yet another Flygon, and then there's Kingdra, who is able to withstand one shot but ends up going down to the second. I mean, I should have known that this is going to be an easy battle going forward, but if we lost Frostlass before this one might have been tough. But at this point, we have done it. Only the champion of the region stands between us and the first attempt victory of a ghost-only Nuzlocke of the Hoenn region. I switch up the held items and break into the TM case to make some last-second move changes before heading into the final battle of the region. Steven leads off with Skarmory, and after seeing the valiant effort the Frostlass just displayed, I send it out first to put Ice Beam into action yet again. The first shot breaks Skarmory's sturdy ability and brings it to just under half health before it uses spikes. Anticipating a full restore here, I attempt to set up with Light Screen before getting off another attack, but Skarmory instead lands at Toxic, which really throws a wrench in my plans. Working against the clock here, I go for Ice Beam to drop the Metal Bird before switching into Jellicent as Aggron comes out. Iron Tail does some decent damage as I go for Hydro Pump, but this just brings it down to a sliver of health thanks to its sturdy ability. Stone Edge then deals some massive damage before Steven heals it back to full health with a full restore. I then go for Ominous Wind, hoping for the Omni boost, but I don't get it. But at least the damage here will break that sturdy ability, so hopefully another Hydro Pump can land to take it out, and it does. So out comes Cradily instead. Things are not looking too good for Jellicent at this point, so I switch into Trevenant to take it on. A couple of awkward turns go on before Steven finally withdraws Cradily and sends out Claydol instead. I chose to spend the next 6 turns going for Calm Mind before getting off a Phantom Force to take it out. Out comes Cradily yet again, so I go for another Phantom Force hoping for the best. It surprisingly wasn't enough as Cradily is only down to yellow health. Gunk Shot then proceeds to poison Trevenant and an Earthquake leaves Cradily at only a sliver of health remaining yet again. After a full restore, poor confusion luck, and some poison damage, Trevenant goes down and now I begin to panic. I send out Frostlass instead and hope that Ice Beam can take it out, but it again just goes down to red health before some more bad luck leads to the downfall of Frostlass as well. I don't have a whole lot of other choices here, so I send out Jellicent to finish off Cradily with Ominous Wind, but the damage from spikes brings it down to low health in the process. Out comes Armaldo, but it's at this point that I realized I really need to prepare for that Metagross that's going to be out next. In order to take it out, I'll need to land a Rain Dance boosted Hydro Pump and hope that's going to be enough. Jellicent does no recover as well, so I go back and forth between that, Rain Dance, and Ominous Wind, which I'm mostly using in hopes that I receive the Omni boost, which just never happens. After minutes of back and forth between Jellicent and Armaldo, our giant jellyfish is able to take out the Steel Bug with another Ominous Wind. So now only Metagross remains. Unluckily for me, Steven is the one member of the Elite Four who can actually Mega Evolve his Pokemon, which really puts us at a disadvantage. Jellicent should be able to survive a non-crit hit at this point, but I have no other choice now than to go for Hydro Pump and hope for the best. Metagross outspeeds and goes for Zen Headbutt, but it misses. No way, that is absolutely huge. Hydro Pump then lands to bring Metagross to yellow health, and then goes for another Zen Headbutt, and this one lands. But Jellicent survives. Come on Hydro Pump, don't miss. And it doesn't! The damage from Hydro Pump takes down the Mega Metal Monster. We have done it. We have taken on the Hoenn region with a set of Hardcore Nuzlocke rules with only ghosts, and we have come out victorious. As we make our way into the Hall of Fame, I take the time to reflect back on the first challenge video I ever attempted. Things have changed significantly since then, and I can't wait to see where we go from here. I had a blast doing this monotype Nuzlocke, and I'm definitely going to be doing more in the future. If you don't want to miss out on those videos, please remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell to be reminded of when any of the videos go live. It's been a slow grind up to 1,000 subscribers, but I hope the growth continues as I have much more content on the horizon. I'd like to thank everyone who submitted questions, and I'll do another video like this for the future milestones as well. So there will be many more chances to get your questions actually answered. But with all that out of the way, I'd like to thank you all for watching. I wish you a happy Halloween, and I'll catch you on the next one.